former pizza delivery driver. Palmer, he's in his 20s. He said, I'm tired of making $8 an hour, and he wanted to explore another industry. He joined a bit skeptical, but now he's actually recruiting his friends. And I spoke with one woman, Sydney, who told us about her family and why this has been so important for her. Let's take a listen.
Being that I am a mother of two and that I want to make sure that my children, like I said, don't have to worry about anything, don't have to, deal with the struggle that I've seen my mom having to deal with growing up, wondering if the lights are going to be on or if we're going to have a roof over our head or food on the table.
It's clear these drivers are very hopeful about what trucking will do for them, and it's at a time when the industry needs them the most.
Absolutely. A time when the industry needs them the most. We're all going to be looking to these types of deliveries as we head into the holiday season. So certainly an important report. And Xinwen, you're a new addition to the NBC News team, specifically here at Now. This is your first appearance on Morning News Now. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the family. So happy to have you on the show. Welcome, Xinwen.
Former Trump aide Steve Bannon is one step closer to potentially facing charges for refusing to reply to a congressional subpoena. The January 6th Select Committee has voted to recommend contempt charges against him. The committee's vote was unanimous, 9-0, for defying the panel's request for information related to the January 6th insurrection at the Capitol.
Mr. Bannon stands alone in his complete defiance of our subpoena. That's not acceptable. No one in this country, no matter how wealthy or how powerful, is above the law.
NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ali Vitali joins us now from Washington. Hey, good morning, Ali. We have the committee's recommendation now. What comes next, and what happens if Bannon refuses to comply again?
Well, look, that's a pretty stunning moment last night. Somber mood in the chamber as they voted to hold him in contempt of Congress. What it does is it officially kicks off a process that you and I and Savannah have been talking about for many weeks now, since Steve Bannon was served that subpoena, and it was clear that he was not going to comply. What happens now is that the committee has made this referral. It will now go to the full floor of Congress for a vote. That's going to happen on Thursday. And if the full floor decides to vote this out, if it passes, it will then go to the Department of Justice, where they will decide whether or not to prosecute. The President Biden has said that he thinks that people like Bannon should face prosecution on this. At the same time, though, the DOJ is a separate entity. Congress people on this committee have said repeatedly that they have been trying to say that they think that this is what should be done, but letting the Justice Department make their own decisions on this. I will say, though, we all know this. Once it starts getting into the courts, this is when things start getting a little bit slower. For the committee's purposes, they would like this to happen as quickly as possible because they are on a clock here. We often talk about the midterms like they are so far off in the future, and they are, unless you're this congressional committee who's about to get into the legal weeds, and they are still on a clock here because as long as Democrats have the House, they can move forward on this in the way that they would like to, continuing to investigate. But if Republicans were to retake the House in 2022, this investigation would likely be neutered.
Yeah, the wheels of justice can move slowly. And in fact, the Justice Department hasn't indicted someone in circumstances like this since 1983. What are you hearing from lawmakers this morning, Ali?
Yeah. Well, look, again, they were somber about this last night because you have to think about what this entire committee is about. It's easy to forget as we get mired in the politics, but it's about January 6th, a deadly and tragic day in American history. That's something that one of the two Republicans on this committee, Liz Cheney, no stranger to drawing the ire of the president, she reminded her Republican colleagues of this yesterday in her remarks before the vote. Listen to how she said it.
Almost every one of my colleagues knows in your hearts that what happened on January 6th was profoundly wrong. You all know that there is no evidence of widespread election fraud sufficient to have changed the results of the election. You all know that the Dominion voting machines were not corrupted by a foreign power. You know these claims are false.
You know who's still pushing those claims, though? Former President Donald Trump, who still has such a stronghold on the entire Republican Party. I would note, though, Republican leader Mitch McConnell yesterday in a press conference with some of us reporters did say that he doesn't think it's helpful to continue looking to the past. Instead, he wants to look forward. His goal, of course, is to retake the